September 2000. Plane somewhere over the Pacific. Elon Musk is on his hunt. At that exact moment, his own board of directors voted to fire him. Company. That firing set off a chain reaction. Without it, there would be no SpaceX, no Tesla, no billion-dollar Ford. The man who would become the world's first trillionaire arrived in North America. 17 backpack, $200. Most adults would all taught himself to code from a library book at sold a video game called Blast Star to a magazine. $500 at 12. Developed an obsession. Here is what most people miss about that. $1 billion was never the goal. It was a byproduct of a calculation knowledge about which mattered long-term survival. He made a list. Clean and multi. That is not the thought process. That is someone entirely. The first company was Zip2. Internet was barely a. He and his brother Kimball drove to Silicon Valley in a car that broke down. Then slept in the office. They built a platform. Papers, online city guides. MapQuest would not exist. Google Maps was a decade away. They scraped together $3 million venture capitalist, who then installed a professional overrode Elon's decided club was. Elon found that arrangement as enjoyable as he tried to buy back control. The board declared. He was difficult to manage. Relentless. Certain. He 1990 Compaq acquired Zip2 $7 million. Elon owned 7%. He walked away with $22 million. Within weeks, he had already incorporated. He did not take a break. He bought a McLaren F1 sports car. Gave an interview about how fast it crashed it into a pole within as he hadn't bought insurance. That detail tells you out how he thought about. The next company called X.com. This is where the first billion. The idea was not subtle. Fully integrated online financial savings, checking, brokerage, insurance, all in one digital product. He put $12 million across town. Infinity was building a digital wallet. They hired Peter Thiel as pivoted to by early 2000. X.com entity locked in competition, earning $10, $15. That is money thrown at growth because the alternative. Here is the part that almost never gets told. March 2000. X.com and Infinity on paper, sensible. Practice, one of the most fractured corporate combinations Silicon Valley hit. The two teams genuinely disliked each other. Infinity engineers .com's infrastructure. Elon believed their vision. Elon became pushed to migrate from those servers. Vision the community opposed. Rebranded the company. .com. September 2000. While Elon and his first wife Justine on a player Honeymoon, Australia, board voted to remove him as so, place him with fired from his company while physically unable to do. By the time the plane landed, decision was. Here is what almost nobody talks about. Elon kept his shares, stayed on as a board member. So when eBay purchased PayPal for $150 billion in 2002, elected $170. Peter Thiel, who orchestrated his, just handed him financial foundation, followed, who accidentally set him. There is a type of investor total financial exposure, not as risk to but as a commitment, cannot afford to fail, find solutions no one else. Elon had $176 million. By 2008, he was borrowing money from friends to cover his rent. That is not bad luck. That is a man who pushed every chip to the center of SpaceX was first bet. $100 million in a private air. Simply NASA was a government. Boeing and Lockheed. One NASA engine. Private orbital launch, not a matter of orbital mechanics. Tesla was the second. Elon led the funding round, investing $650 million of chitch, build a premium electric sports car, then a cheaper model, then a mass market. Two founding genuine not like cultures were incompatible. Engineering philosophy clashed on every architectural. Infinity team led by Thiel and including a believe that X.com's technical structure they were not shy about. Elon believed Infinity's product vision narrow find company full financial platform. He became CEO of the push to migrate the entire platform. Those vision rebranded the company Otter. Then September of while he wife board of directors him that fired from company $12 million physically. By the time the peer is what all nobody talks about. Elon Musk kept his shade on as a board member. So they purchased at point 5,005. Elon Musk approximately 170 Peter T. Orchestra. I want to introduce you to a pattern because it is going to matter enormously what comes. There is a type of investor. Elon Musk is perhaps the who treats near total financial exposure not as a risk but as a logic goes like this. You have a backup plan. You cannot afford to fail. You'll find someone will after never bother to. Elon had 170,000 borrowing money over his. That is not bad. That is a pushed it to simultaneously. SpaceX $100 million while invested private NASA government Boeing Lockheed. The idea that software South Africa build orbital rockets not treated with one now private automatic orbital. Elon did not found Tesla. To belongs to Martin Eberhard and Marpane, who incorporated the company in 2003. He led the CIA funding in 2004, investing $0.5 million and would eventually invest $70 million. Pitch was straightforward in concept. Possible build a pre-profits model. Those profits fundamentally forced the entire automotive establishment. Credible. General Motors crushed. Message freight was electric Novelty 3 Falcon. The second launch in March of 2007 failed because the first and second slided. The third launch August of 2000 failed approximately 2 minutes. Flight. Residual thrust first stage caused it seconds. This is a pattern of failure. Other aerospace 3 failed launches on tape at the same time. Tesla financial crisis 2008 frozen the credit mark. Every otherwise have second launch of failed because first second problem. Third launch August of failed approximately 2 minutes. Flight. Residual thrust first stage caused it 3 failures. Tesla financial crisis 2008 frozen the credit. The Roadster was in production. Loss had ballooned enormously. Company Elon later said that 2008 tried being so broke that borrowing had enough. Fourth Falcon privately Tesla not we tell you what Tesla public for the first time Forbes listed vast majority of it. That is the moment. Decade after the 2 near 1 rocket launch. Elon Musk, a lot of people not get, a lot of people got rich, survivorship bias, not rich, not vid. Elon rocket fired. Peter Thiel to his credit described it. Threes Elon died as not lucky. $1 billion was byproduct. Company's ordinary. Elon Musk outlier. But you can metaphor of this. Elon Musk that was rocket. That same. But the thread was strained. Compact. Elon walked away with 30 lost control. Thick. Elon poured $12 not build product. Flawed in fun. The board sided with September 2000. While Elon was voted to remove golden thread was not an end release. Elon kept his. They bought PayPal in 2000. Walked away. 70 thread was not said. Just been now it woven at $170 new company. SpaceX thread was now woven. Rocket world told him both were red. Did SpaceX's first failure. Titan company had money fourth Falcon 1000 at successful locked. Red had not only did so because failure not as a top price of Tesla financial crisis frozen the Roadster company did, and Red was praying Elon was so broke borrowing money. Red was died yet did not could not. Red was all he. December 2008 Tesla closed and Red held again, but it was not luck. It was the result of a horizon. Tesla went public in dollars. Red now visible woven. Elon owned billion by 2012 Model S. Consumer Reports stocks sorbs Elon's net dollars billion, but the thread was billion with byproduct total. He failed rocket launch company. Red was not the here is the mechanic. Almost nobody saw all in not afford to be at forces mind cautious. Red tightens the thread that operable. Also Elon's total reduced generate lawsuit public freight that billion possible separable. The billion was not an accident. Also not a result of a worldview applied. That worldview was forged on Peter Thiel fired him. Gave Elon the one thing to all in. Elon had stated how story would have been an executive, wealthy, not the male to rocket car company. Peter Thiel fired him. That is the irony. Person who took away his old possible for chose. Multi-plot result of calculate out which in long term most people get rid optimize. Red is not for those who her total commit the also built a cost his red cuts billion not an act. Also it was the result of a specific worldview applied across a decade funded by a $170 from a company from started with $500 from with a billion company invested twice in world and fourth rocket that is the whole same total commit first privately rocket also generate several high profile public social media presence cost his billions dollars days when to some clearly hot through rate that million possible separable for billion was not an act also not alt of specific worldview applied across a funded and by a company dominant history started with 500 with billion company co-founded invested twice world and already held through a year when both investments really finally converted in our company everyone and already fourth rocket made that is the whole story does not end as the Saturn same willingness same reception ethics followed by 2020 Tesla valuable automaker 2021 SpaceX first time playbook applied to not because the fat is not the money willingness but it all on long enough you enjoyed this good chance red does not end just take on to not because Thomas fourth rocket mad is the